In this hub notes, I'm just correcting myself because I made a few errors or failed to mention things in the video from the videos from the National Motor Museum, playing with the monorail and the 1904 the Dion-Bouton, which was huge fun. We'll start with the monorail. When we went through the National Motor Museum on the monorail, I said I'd explain how they try to avoid the cars being dripped on by the monorail. Stan admitted they sometimes do a bit, but they've actually got gutters down at a fairly low level that funnel water into the lower section of the monorail. And this footage shows the water being emptied out of these tanks at the bottom. It's part of the walk around checks first thing in the morning, is to let the water out, because there is no weather protection on the monorail. So they've also got squeegees to go over the seats and everything, so it's all very exposed, very simple, very, very lovely. And then another thing I didn't mention on the monorail is that the original diffs, obviously Ford Sierras didn't exist in the mid-70s when the monorail was constructed by Butlins, weirdly. So they used Triumph Herald diffs. So that's what was used on the monorail originally. They've upgraded to Sierra, but now Sierra parts are getting rare, so they're looking at where to go next. So if you've got some input, maybe let them know what would be a good diff for a monorail. And something else I didn't make fully clear is that the reason the ride is a bit rickety and bouncy, I sort of explained it when we went and looked at the bogies of the monorail. It's solid rubber tiles running on slightly uneven metal track, so that's why the ride is a little unrefined. But yeah, the fact that it survives with its mechanical electronics and everything, it's just wonderful. So still hugely grateful to the museum for letting me drive that. And I'm also really pleased that that video did really well for views. I was quite surprised by that. I didn't expect it to do well, but it did. So that's amazing. Really, really happy about that. Forgot just how blooming heavy this phone is. Now something else I want to briefly discuss while we're here is I have a new phone. I've upgraded to a lesser phone. So speaking to you, this is my S23 Ultra, the Samsung Galaxy that I've had since May 2023. I've cracked the screen now. It's got a great LCD split down it. So I've upgraded. I've got a cheaper contract. I've now got an S24, which is less spec, but should still be able to do everything apart from the digital zoom is not so good. But it's saving me the best part of 20 quid a month. I've gone for a slightly less data as well. So hopefully this is going to be good, and hopefully I won't smash it. But the fact this is so much lighter and easier to hold is great. So very, very happy with the new phone. Back to the monorail, or actually not the monorail. We're going to go and talk now about the Dion-Bouton. It's a fascinating thing, it really is, and it's really difficult to try and convey all of Stan's excitement and enthusiasm for the car and my own, and trying to drive it at the same time. Really, really difficult. It was an experience to behold. So I just wanted to talk a few points. The box on the dashboard, I've entirely forgotten what's in the box on the dashboard, but I think it might be magneto related. I could be wrong on that. The transmission, not true epicyclic, but yeah, with that big lever, you're operating clutch bands to get the different ratios, and I think the reverser means that the action is reversed. So going into what feels like high gear, I think that's actually low gear backwards. I think that's how it works. Another point was, some people have pointed out that the diff seem to have very modern, like CV joint type boots on. I don't think it does. I think it's just got more modern boots just to protect the knuckles in there. I presume it is still constant velocity joint, so just to try and keep a bit of muck out of them and reduce the maintenance needed. But yeah, that was a joyous little thing to drive. Very, very difficult. And you may notice the camera went a bit iffy when I was reversing. That was because I hadn't knocked it fully into neutral. It's really hard to tell where the neutral position is. It's a very vague lever. So we were going backwards, still just pottering along in backwards in gear. So it wasn't going to stop. So yeah, Stan had to take emergency action, knocking out a neutral. I was already on the handbrake to stop us. You never really use the transmission brake. And that's what's going on. Apparently, originally, the transmission brake was also linked to something on the engine that would increase engine braking and reduce its trying to drive the car forward. But that wasn't, I don't think that system is fitted anymore. A little bit problematic. Sometimes they have to make cuts just to keep the cars going. Because it's very important to the museum that they have running exhibits. When we were there filming the Dion-Bouton, there were several school trips going on, and they were being treated to trips out around the same sort of part of the museum we were driving on, in the old Austin Heavy 12.4 that I drove the last time I was at the museum. That's wonderful, because you can point at cars and say that's interesting to children, but nothing gets them more interested than actually going for a ride in a vintage car. The smell, the sounds, the feel of it all. So that was absolutely wonderful to see. And I should point out the bus as well. A Ford K Series lorry is their veteran bus. But obviously that truck itself is now 50 years old. Getting parts for that is proving problematic. So who knows what will happen with that. But yeah, that runs a regular service driving around the site. So you can use the bus or the monorail. Sadly, neither are really geared up for disabled visitors, but that's kind of a downside of these things being half a century old. Not much thought was given to disabled access back then. It'd be really difficult. It's impossible to make the monorail wheelchair accessible without considerable expenditure, because the monorail is quite small. The carriages are tiny. I don't see how you would arrange access, even if you could get people up to the height of the monorail, because obviously it goes around at a fairly high level. And the bus also, I mean, it's designed to be a direct replica of a sort of 1910s London bus. They weren't thinking of disabled access back then, so it becomes really, really difficult. I believe they have got wheelchairs available on site for those who are less able. But yeah, those transport options remain out of bounds. But yeah, amazing museum to visit. And you get so much more. You get to explore the grounds, lots of beautiful old buildings. You've got Palace House itself, and they've got other little museums tucked there or thereabouts. So yeah, it's sad the Top Gear exhibition has come to an end, but I believe the museum was having to pay quite a lot of money to host it. And with the demise of the show, I mean, there is no Top Gear at the moment. I can see that they were thinking, well, this doesn't make sense anymore. And these are cars, some of them are now going back sort of 20 years since they were relevant. So it's not so relevant to a lot of the visitors to the museum. So very sad. Hopefully some of those cars will pop up elsewhere. We have no idea. But it'll be interesting to see what happens next. But yeah, there you go. That's just a few little extra tidbits about my recent visit to the National Motor Museum at Bewley in the south of England. Well worth a visit. Don't forget, if you use discount code HUBNUT10 before the end of this month, you'll get 10% off your tickets, and you can book them ahead into next year. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in another Hub Note soon. Bye.